Welcome into Giants Postgame Live, presented by Moderna. My name is Madelyn Burke, alongside the Super Bowl champion Shaun, the Super Bowl champion Amani. Toomer, a tough loss for the Giants in Week 9. They went out to Las Vegas and fell to the Raiders 30-6 in a game that we saw quarterback Daniel Jones making his return from a neck injury, but not for long. It was late in the first quarter where Daniel Jones left the game with what looked like a knee injury. We still don't have specifics on that injury, but in a game when you see the left tackle Andrew Thomas returning, right tackle Evan Neal returning, who also left later in the game, Daniel Jones returning and then leaving due to injury. Shaun, how significant are these injuries?
Well, the injury to Daniel Jones is obviously a huge impact, and he was already hurt. This was his first game back, so no doubt about it, that was a huge blow to the entire team. Obviously, everybody's thinking about Daniel Jones right now, and you hope that he's okay in the long term, but it certainly doesn't look good. Getting Andrew Thomas back, there was supposed to be a spark. That was supposed to help everything. All right, offensively, here we go. We got our Pro Bowl left tackle back. Now Justin Pugh's in at left guard. That's going to help the offense out. What do? They go 3 and out the very first damn possession. And you know what? That's not good enough. You're playing against a team, if you didn't know anything about football, all right? If you didn't know anything coming into this game, but I told you before the game started that one of these teams fired their head coach and their general manager, who would you have picked as the team that did that, right? It certainly didn't look like the Raiders. So the Giants offense comes out three and out, stinker, and the Giants defense that was stellar last week against the Jets, all right, didn't give up a third down conversion until 2 minutes to go in the game, held Breece Hall to 17 yards rushing. They go out and on the opening drive, let him march right down the field with Aiden O'Connell, who's making his second start, I think, in his entire career, and they march right down the field for a touchdown. That start to the game right there set the tempo and set the move. And I don't know what was going on from a mindset standpoint going into that game, but the Giants had everything to play for right there, and right out of the gate, they had a chance to just say, no, hey, look, we're gonna win this football game. We're gonna take control, and instead they let the Raiders take it to them.
The Raiders absolutely took it to them. The Raiders had more energy. The Raiders looked like the team that they wanted to play, and I think the turning point in this game was early on when it was 4th and 1, and they had an opportunity to stay on the field. They didn't get their 4th and 1 with Daniel Jones. And ever since then, it seemed like the Giants were playing catch-up. They weren't. Just the energy level was something that I was surprised to see, thinking that this team, coming off of the loss last week, in the manner in which they did, I thought there would be a little bit more energy, a little more juice, a lot of penalties and inopportune times, drop balls, not looking the ball all the way in. You know, you can always tell when a receiver looks the ball all the way in because his head drops as he's putting it in. There was a lot of times the balls got punched out. That's just trying to do too much, not trusting in the system.
It's bad ball.
It's really bad ball. And the fact that the offensive line gave up as many sacks as they did, some of them were probably DeVito because he's holding on to the ball, not really, a master of the offense, distributing the ball well. But, man, it just did not look like a great brand of football today. And if it keeps up this way, this could be a very, very,
I'm glad you brought up the game situations, because last week's loss to the Jets was despicable. The way that went down, they had victory in their grasp, and they let it happen. Mm-hmm. Today was disheartening. Yeah. It was disappointing. To see the dysfunction on offense, on the failed quarterback sneak, on 4th and 1, Evan Neal false starts. Then on another 4th down, Daniel Bellinger false starts. Right. So pre-snap penalties at this point in the season, there's no excuse for it. Yeah. Like players, you gotta be better than that. Yeah. You can't go out there and you can't drop balls. Hodgins had a ball get punched right out. And then we had Jalen Hyatt wide open on a couple times. Even before Daniel Jones got hurt, he missed him on a deep throw. That was an overthrow. Another ball was too far out of bounds. Yeah. Jalen Hyatt didn't have a chance to get his feet down. And then when Daniel Jones went out, back-to-back interceptions by Tommy DeVito. One of them went through Darius Slayton's hands, so it wasn't really even on DeVito, even though it was a little bit behind him. But that dysfunction on offense, you're not going to win a game. I don't care who you're playing. You can be playing a college football team. If you can't score points, and the Giants came into the game averaging 11.9 points per game. All right, that's worse than the league right now. Normally, when you go to Vegas, the number 11 is a good thing. All right, yo 11 coming out, but not in this case.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And I mean, this is the fourth time this season the Giants have trailed by 20 or more points. That's a league-leading clip right there. The only time they came back from that, of course, was week 2 against Arizona. But Shaun, you alluded to the penalties. You'd think that a game like this, they had so many. They had just 3, but there were 3 pivotal penalties for this Giants team. The terrible timing. And you know, Amani, you were talking about a little bit of the drop passes. When you've got a new quarterback, a young quarterback like Tommy DeVito coming in there, you know, you're seeing him trying to put the ball in these receivers' hands. You mentioned the turnover that bounced off Darius Slayton's hands. You saw the drop pass off of Hodgins. You know, when you're a receiver and you've got to get that ball, how do you convey the importance of just seeing the ball all the way through the catch before taking that next step?
Well, one of the things is you got to be aggressive to the ball, right? So like when the ball's coming, you can't just sit there and let it come. You got to go to it and actually be proactive. And so you're cutting off the angle that the defender has towards the ball. Like if you catch it right here, the defender can knock it away. But if you're going right here, the defender is you're going to be able to shield yourself, you shield the ball from the defender. And it was just, when I'm watching this game, I couldn't tell who lost their offensive coordinator, lost their play caller, lost their starting quarterback, lost their general manager. This team was tailor-made for the Giants to write their season. Because if they got to the 3rd win of this season, they're kind of back in the hunt because of the fact that the tougher games that they've already had in the early part of the season, you know, the schedule starts to soften up. And this would have been another great opportunity for this team to push its way back into relevancy. But now at 2-6, this team it's taking on water. 2-7, excuse me. They're taking on water, and you got, as a player looking at this team, when is enough enough? When are you going to sit up and say, you know, we're going to play we're going to go to that next level instead of just accepting the fate of this Giants team just being average to below average, and that's the only other step forward is when is enough enough? When are you going to step up and start executing and being the team that you were just last season?
Who's going to grab a bucket?
Exactly.
Right, we're taking on water.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, but we've got much more to come as we continue to recap this weeknight loss to the Raiders. But first, guests of our post-game show received a gift certificate to Ben and Jack's, located on 44th Street in Manhattan. From the celebrated porterhouse to finer seafood, Ben and Jack's will surpass your expectations of what a steakhouse should be. After the break, we're going to hear from head coach Brian Daboll. That and much more coming your way on Giants Postgame Live, presented by Moderna. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this. Today's scoring drive of the game is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. Citizens is made ready for Giants fans. For the scoring drive of the game, we go to the end of the 3rd quarter into the beginning of the 4th quarter. It took 11 plays, 84 yards, 5 minutes and 53 seconds off the clock. Capped off with a 9-yard touchdown reception from Wan'Dale Robinson, who had 2 feet surely down in the back of that end zone. The Giants would go for 2 after this play, would not convert on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, it was
6 points on the board.
Interesting 2-point play there. It was like a fake Philly special, Daniel Bellinger trying to throw the ball, and
that was the same play that they did last year versus Tennessee to win to get the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
So it was creative, but it just didn't come off. And they didn't execute quite in the same manner.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it didn't work out there. But for the touchdown, really nice job. There was protection. Tommy DeVito did a nice job scrambling around, buying a little time.
Absolutely.
And a nice throw to Wan'Dale.
Well, and you mentioned the protection, too. I mean, we talked about this earlier in the show, the return of Andrew Thomas, left tackle, the return of Evan Neal, who would end up leaving midway through the game with a lower leg-looking injury. We don't have specifics on that one yet either. But despite that, still 8 sacks by this Raiders defense today. And I mean, you know, when you've got that much pressure, you got Max Crosby looking like an all-pro out here, Amani. How do you navigate that kind of pressure?
Well, I feel like a lot of it has to do with him Tommy not really understanding where, not going through his progressions quick enough. He gets spooked because he sees a free rusher, And although that together just creates some bad football as a quarterback, but you got to understand he doesn't get a lot of reps. He doesn't get a lot of opportunity to play at this level, even though he played last week. I think this week they kind of took the training wheels off a little bit more and allowed him to do more in terms of looking downfield. Last week it was just hand the ball to Saquon right, hand the ball to Saquon left. Now, he's actually going through his progressions, and you saw a young quarterback learning, cutting his teeth, unfortunately, in a situation where it was a game that it was the Giants' game to win. If they were to just come out a little bit more, a little better energy, a little more execution early on, and you got away from this Giants team really quickly and quick, fast, in a hurry in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and to your point, look, if you're Evan Neal or any tackle for that matter, you're coming off injury and missing a couple games, the last guy you want to be going against is Max Crosby. His nickname Mad Max is for a reason. He is a werewolf, and the guy just has an unbelievable motor. Like, he's nonstop, always coming after you. So even when you think you've got him blocked, next thing you know, he spins by you or swipes the hand. So that was a tough task. Crosby had 3 sacks and a bunch of tackles for a loss as well. So he's going to impact the game. But whenever you have a rookie quarterback, the one thing I knew as an offensive lineman, if we have a young quarterback, and you know this too, you're going to get blitzes. Yeah. Like, the defense coordinators are going to say, look, let's see if he can see things. Let's see if he can protect himself. And there was a couple of sacks where it was, it was like the floodgates were open, and there was multiple unblocked guys. So some of that is protection issues. Some of that is just seeing sights and hots, and hey, you got to get the ball out. But the way to alleviate that is to hand the ball off to your running back.
Yes.
Saquon Barkley, only 16 carries in this game, and as soon as Daniel Jones went down, you would think the emphasis would have been, hey, you know what, we're not going to expect Tommy DeVito to drop back and try to rescue us from the depths of hell right now. Like, we've got to get the ball in the hands of our best player, and that's Saquon Barkley. You even saw him on the broadcast copy kind of come over and say, hey, man, like, lean on me. Like, give me the ball. Like, none of this other stuff. So I think they could have used Saquon a little bit more in that, because I tell you what, he looked good.
Yeah.
He looked good. He looked fast. He looked energetic. He looked like he was ready to carry the load.
And 16 carries or not, I mean, he still made the most of it. 90 yards on the ground for Saquon Barkley in this loss. 30-6 is the final score, but we're going to continue to recap this one. We've got much more to come. But first, I want to remind you guys, Giants fans, that limited tickets are still available for remaining Giants home games at MetLife Stadium. Visit Giants.com/tickets to find your game and secure your seat. After the break, we're going to hear from head coach Brian Daboll, some players down in the locker room in Las Vegas, and much more on Giants Postgame Live. Welcome back to Giants Postgame Live, presented by Moderna. Giants fans, subscribe to the Giants Podcast Network for a variety of team podcasts featuring conversations with Giants players, coaches, fans, and legends. Plus, NFL analysts, business professionals, influencers, and more. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and Google. It's the Giants official podcast network. The great slate of programming, of course. Welcome back to Giants Postgame Live, presented by Moderna. In a Week 9 loss to the Raiders, Giants fell 30-6. Let's send it down to Las Vegas, where head coach Brian Daboll is addressing the media.
All right, what do we got here? No update on Daniel. I'll just give it to you right now. No update on any of the guys, other than it's a knee for Daniel. So get tests and find out where it's at.
So the doctors didn't give you any preliminary word on what it might be?
No, they gave him x-rays. Came back, nothing wrong on the x-rays. Or get more tests, MRIs and stuff done tomorrow.
There's already reports out that it could be an ACL. I mean, do you...
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm going to wait to find out and go through. You never know with those things. So we get back, we'll get the information and see where it's at.
How tough was that to see him go down like that?
Yeah, tough. You never want your guys to go down. He's worked really hard to get back, and it's unfortunate.
Can you explain the sequence? It looked like you obviously got hurt on the play at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, he felt like he buckled, and then he was running it off. We went over to him, we talked to him, he said, "No, I'm good." Then went back in and obviously wasn't.
So did the trainers check him?
Yeah, we all talked to him. We said, "How you doing?" He was, I'm good. And then he just was jogging back and forth, and he said, "I'm good."
When he knew he was presumably not good, did he sense anything or did he say anything about what he thought happened?
No, I haven't talked to him. Yeah.
How does it affect your season? It's kind of an obvious question, but if he's out for the long term, how does that change things for you guys?
Yeah, we got to get the next guy ready. DeVito, Barkley, got to get those guys ready to play.
Would you add to that list potentially?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have conversations tomorrow and the next day.
You decided to do a quarterback sneak with Daniel.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had no restrictions or anything, right? And he felt
Correct.
He was confident, he was able, and it was just just didn't get pushed. Is that what you saw there?
Yeah, came up a little short.
Were you going to go for that first one when Evans got the false start?
Potentially, yeah.
Is that
What we're really trying to do is to try to draw them off sides, but we moved.
So you're trying to draw him, so you weren't going to go for it there.
There's a couple little mechanics within there.
Is Evan now injured again?
Yeah, I don't know, Kim. I know he's out right now, but I haven't talked to the trainers or the doctors at all.
But he clearly hurt himself at some point.
He did towards the end, but I don't have any info on it.
Is the door your neck again?
Yeah, concussion, I guess.
Big picture, obviously, what does this mean for your season when you lose your, potentially lose your quarterback?
Yeah, got to do a better job. Got to get back to work, get the guys ready that are going to be available, and get ready to play.
It's one thing to use the word disappointing, right? And you were without Daniel for 3 games, but there's also a fine line between disappointing and discouraging. At this point, with everything that you've tried, when he was in, when he was out, now back out again, how hard is it to sort of not sway over to all of a sudden things are just discouraging?
Yeah, no, look, we can all do a better job, and that's what we'll do each week. We go out there, we practice the right way, we prepare. We have to do a better job on Sundays.
Right. What tests did Daniel have done so far? Do you know?
He had an X-ray. I let Dan know before you were in here. He had an X-ray, and then we'll get more when we get back.
What happened defensively today? You guys have been obviously ascending in that regard, and today it just went the other way, especially the first half after Daniel went.
Yeah, they did a good job early in the game, running the ball, hitting some big plays. Took advantage of the opportunities that they had. I thought they did a good job. I thought that quarterback played well. The receivers, got open, caught the ball, made some big plays down the field. They did a good job offensively. Give them credit.
Is there some human nature to being discouraged when you see Daniel go off the field? There seemed to be a lot of optimism this week, getting guys back, and then that happens. Is there some human nature to be discouraged by?
Yeah, I'd say each week we do everything we can do to try to prepare and play our best. But again, you don't want to see your players get hurt. So, but that's the nature of the game.
How do you keep from being discouraged?
Yeah, been in this league a long time. So, obviously not the results we want, but stay firm and committed to the things we need to do, and go out there and have a good week of practice and put a better product on the field on Sunday.
Sorry if you were asked this already.
That's okay.
Was there any conversation at the quarter about?
Yeah, I was at. Yeah. He ran it off. He was running back and forth. Everybody went up and talked to him. He said he's good. He's good. So.
What did you think of the way DeVito performed?
I thought he did some good things. Obviously we had the 2 picks. One was off the hands of a receiver. The other one was kind of a cross post. The backside corner ran with it, and they made a good play down the field. But I thought he made some good decisions. Stood in there, competed well. Keep working with him.
I know it's just post game, and obviously you got to watch film and sort of get back in the film room. But is it something where now, worst case, if Daniel's not back, that you sort of have to switch your playbook toward what DeVito is capable of doing, or do you get him up to par?
Yeah, no. I mean, any quarterback we have in, whether it was Tyrod or Daniel or in this case DeVito, you always try to tailor it to what those guys do well and what they prefer, and that quarterback position is an important position. So definitely, if DeVito is the guy, that you tailor the stuff towards him.
Dave, you seem to have a pretty warm hug for Antonio Pierce. Did you?
Yeah, no. I said congratulations. That's it was a good win for him, and I got a lot of respect for AP, and we go back, like I said, a ways, and just congratulated him for the win.
You talk a lot about with with adversity.
Sure.
I mean, how are you going to approach this next stretch coming up here?
Go back, look at the tape, get ready to play next week, and have a good week of practice, and get ready to play on Sunday.
Couple more. Is Barkley in position to be a backup next week? I mean, is he?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that. I think right after the game here. There's, I appreciate the question, but yeah, a little bit of ways here. All good? Thanks, guys.
All right, locker room results for DeVito.
That sound from head coach Brian Daboll is brought to you by your local Ford stores. Ford is proud to be the official truck of the New York Giants. We're going to continue to break down what head coach Brian Daboll said and more after the break. But first, I want to remind you all that the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford, airs every week right here. We'll look back on today's game and look ahead at next week's matchup. It's Coach Daboll Show airing every week on MSG and the Giants YouTube channel. We've got much more to come on Giants Postgame Live, presented by Moderna. Stay with us. We'll be back with more after this.
Second, you see Daniel go down and your number's called, you're a pro, you have to be ready to get in there. Just, walk us through the emotions there, the anxiety, whatever went through, stepping on the field and get through those first few plays.
Yeah, it was the same deal as last week, really. Last week when Ty went down, it was kind of slow to get up. Everybody kind of looks around me, hey, get ready, go get some snaps. Same deal this week. DJ went down right before that first quarter, and the first quarter played out, said he was good, went out there, and then, it went down again. So I took a couple snaps to John Michael, just staying the course.
Did you get a chance to change? I mean, DJ was kind of trying to, seems like, shake it off or make sure he was okay during that, between the quarters there. Did you speak to him at all? Like, does he seem like he felt like he was okay for the moment, and then obviously the knee seemed to crumple on the first play there. Did you have a chance to ask, talk to him about what was going on there?
Yeah, it's not like normal. You good? He's good. Okay. Just making sure that I wasn't going in that direct play.
And how did you feel today compared to last week? Did you feel more comfortable? What was your?
Yeah, I mean, completely different scenario, right? Last week, the score of the game, the situation of the game, the weather, everything that was going into it, offensively, mindset was different. I mean, this week we were down early, so really I tried to get back. I made some mistakes that I'm looking forward to cleaning up, but it was just a different situation.
Tommy, does part of you say you can't believe what happened with Daniel getting cleared, coming back, and having this happen again? Does part of you as a teammate and presumably a friend, do you think that?
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, that's part of the sport, injuries is the one thing that you can never, not have happen in the sport. Obviously, for someone to be gone for a while and then come back and then something happen, obviously I don't know the extent of it, but, he's in my prayers and the whole team's prayers, and we're hoping for him to be back.
That was Giants quarterback Tommy DeVito, who got his second week in a row of game action after Daniel Jones went down with a knee injury in the first quarter. As we take a look at the quarterback comparison between rookie Tommy DeVito and rookie Aiden O'Connell. O'Connell making his second start of the season as well. What stands out to you on this chart, Shaun?
Well, Tommy's photo is much better than Aiden's, I'll say that. He looks airbrushed, so he's got that going for him, which is nice.
Shout out to Matt Swen in the Giants photo department.
Yeah, I mean, look, the stats there, I mean, there's some things in there that you could look at and say, look, I thought Tommy DeVito actually had some nice throws. There were a couple plays where he bought some time, extended it with his legs, and did some good things. But like he said, there was a lot to clean up. There's a lot of things that went wrong protection-wise. We talked about that earlier on, about not seeing the same things. There were some blitzes that were coming that he was not protected on, and maybe he thought he was. So those are things that he's got to get better at. And, look, you're going to learn a lot from the tape. You always learn a lot more from losses than you do wins anyways, but there's certainly a lot to learn from. I'll say this. I liked the fight and the spirit that Tommy DeVito brought to the game. The first scramble of the game, Max Crosby kind of takes him down, and he kind of like gives Max Crosby the little forearm. So you could, I mean, if you wanted to question his judgment, that's not the guy you probably want to provoke. You don't want to poke the bear, which he did. But, look, I kind of like that he showed a little Jersey toughness out there and was not scared to mix it up. So Look, he threw his first career touchdown pass on a play that was really a broken play. And I think those are things that you're looking for a young kid to do. Either you could do that or you can't. Like some guys are just, it's got to be scripted, it's got to be by the book, it's got to be the way we drew it up, and they can't do anything, after that. They can't do anything abstract. I think Tommy proved that he could do that.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he got rushed in there, they thought that, everybody thought that once Daniel Jones came back, that he would just kind of sit on the back and kind of be, back in his role as a backup, but all of a sudden he gets thrusted back in the lineup. And one thing that stands out to me is those 2 interceptions, though. Those are the things that are going to kill you. They might not have been his fault, but regardless, those 2 interceptions really define this game. And if you keep throwing interceptions like that, it's going to be a tough time for him to stay in the league and a tough time for this Giants team to be competitive, especially against a team that the table was set for the Giants to write their season today. But obviously, because of those interceptions, because of the injuries, it just ended up being a really disappointing game. It reminds me of the game we played against the Saints when we lost and Joe Horn pulled out the cell phone. I have that same type of feeling of just totally being deflated, and all the energy that was on the team just kind of got sucked out in a quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Well, we talked about this on the flip phone. Yeah, the flippy.
It was a flip phone,
We talked about this all week, though. Playing a team that is going through just firing their head coach, their GM, benching their quarterback, all those changes, that team is going to be on their P's and Q's, and you know that coming into it. It was a tough matchup indeed. The Giants fell 30-6, but we've got much more to come after the break. We're going to hear from Saquon Barkley, that and more. But first, Giants Postgame Live presented by Moderna continues, and we want to remind you to stay up to date with the latest COVID-19 vaccines because you've got no time for 19. Giants Postgame Live, brought to you by Moderna, continues after this quick timeout.
I'm not going to sit here and speak for DJ. You don't know until you have to get an MRI. So, pray for him. And he knows I got his back no matter what. We got his back no matter what. So
when you saw him go down like that, stumble back there, not get hit, what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. In the heat of the moment, I'll see what I have to ask him questions like, what is it? But you never know. He's tough. He's a tough guy. He's a tough player. He tried to gut it out for us, and unfortunately wasn't able to.
He was trying to look like he was trying to loosen himself up or just check to see if he was okay between the quarters there. Did you guys have any conversations about, at that time, like if he was okay, or did you articulate anything at all? Or
no, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and speak for DJ, and you never know until you have to get MRI. So next question, please.
Saquon, with the optimism with which you spoke during the week about getting things on track and coming together and turning this season around, is this disheartening?
Yeah, it definitely sucks. Definitely sucks, but gotta be a pro about it. Can't make no excuses. Still got a long season ahead of us. Obviously, we're not happy that we're 2-7, and everything that's going on right now. But get on a flight, rest up, get ready for next week.
How much do you feel for Daniel coming back after the 3 games, being cleared, being ready, and this happens in the first and beginning of second quarter?
Yeah, like I said, and I don't want to speak for DJ, and
right.
I don't think
when you see that sort of thing.
It sucks because I know the type of player he is. I know how much work he puts in, and just outside of football as a friend, seeing anybody go down, but obviously seeing one of your best friends go down definitely sucks, and it's tough.
Take on when you season in the future, or it's more so than that. If that is the reality where you are at.
If that is the reality, we're 2-7. We still got a job to do. We still got to come to work. We still got to compete, and that's going to be the mindset. Until we're mathematically out of it, that's going to be the mindset.
Saquon, you mentioned about
That was Saquon Barkley after the 30-6 loss to the Raiders. But Saquon had 16 rushes for 90 yards, including a 26-yard long, as well as 3 receptions for 23 yards. A productive day for Saquon. But Shaun, you mentioned it earlier in the show. You wanted to see him get fed a little bit more in the running game, especially with Tommy DeVito in at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, once Daniel Jones went down, you kind of felt like, all right, Saquon's going to have to carry the load here offensively. We saw him do it the week before against the Jets with 36 carries. So I thought that he could have handled it, and he was ready for it. Like, he looked explosive. I thought they were doing a good job in the run game, creating some holes, creating some running lanes for him. So I think he's probably disappointed that he couldn't have had more of an impact and had more touches. But, you know, you can kind of see and feel the pain on Saquon Barkley's face and with his voice. Like, he knows what is probably looming for Daniel Jones, having just gone through an ACL rehab himself. You hate to see that for any player, and for him to kind of be guarded, which is understandable, but to also just kind of see the human side of that, it is tough anytime you see a teammate, especially your quarterback, go down like that.
Yeah, especially something you've been through recently. And the non-contact injury, those are the ones that usually end up lasting the longest. We're not going to speculate on what it actually is, but I would like to have seen him with 26 carries. Like, I mean, he had 5.6 yards per carry. I don't think anything in this offense was working at that clip. And so I would just wanted to see how much of an impact he could have had on the game, because I felt like there were some times where the offensive line is much better going downhill, especially against like the undersized defensive line that they had. And I felt like that was an advantage that the Giants could have and should have probably taken advantage of. Be disciplined and stay with the running game, even though the score kind of looks like it's out of hand. 21 points down. You remember what happened in the second half of the Arizona game, probably the best half of football that this team has played. So I just felt like we're taking the ball out of one of our best players, and you're putting the ball in Tommy DeVito's hands. And I would love to see what would happen. I understand how things get out of hand when you're in the game, in the fog of a game. But man, when you're looking back out of it in hindsight, it's much easier to kind of second guess. But man, I just wish we could have seen what Saquon Barkley would have done with like 10, 15 more opportunities.
Yeah, and I mean, hindsight is 20/20, right? You look at the run game. I mean, sticking to the run game is the large part of the Raiders' success today. Josh Jacobs had 26 carries, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That was a large part of what was going for the Raiders' offense today. But you mentioned the offensive line. One of the big returners today on that offensive line, Andrew Thomas, coming back from that hamstring injury. Let's send it down to Vegas, where Andrew Thomas is speaking now.
Situation, as far as calling the offense, just because we were down so much. But I think he did a great job handling it and making some plays for us.
You said you were frustrated on the particular play you're talking about, but I have to think frustration is over the whole thing. How do you keep that from becoming a problem for this team that you're so? Seems like whatever you take a step forward, it goes 2 back.
Just got to keep moving forward. It's something that we deal with. It's the league. People get hurt. You have up and down years. Just try to keep the same mindset of getting better each week, and that's the approach we have.
Did you come out of the game okay?
Yeah.
Did you feel like yourself or?
I felt good, but I just didn't play to the level I should have.
You felt rust?
For sure, yeah. I mean, but I'm not going to make excuses. I decided to step out there. So, whatever happened, that happened.
All set. Thanks.
Giants fans, subscribe to Giants text alerts for breaking news, ticket offers, game day updates, and more. Just scan the QR code on your screen or text 201-636-1569 to subscribe to Giants text alerts today. We'll be back with more after this. Hey Giants fans, check out the Eli Manning Show presented by Panini Prism Trading Cards. All you have to do is subscribe to the Giants YouTube channel to catch all of the new shows. It's the Eli Manning Show. Subscribe today. Welcome back to Giants Postgame Live presented by Moderna. The Giants fell to the Raiders 30-6 in Las Vegas. Earlier this week, it was the NFL trading deadline. Giants made a move sending Leonard Williams to Seattle. But his bestie and defensive line mate Dexter Lawrence is still in the locker room here. He's speaking to the locker room right now.
We're learning and not getting results becomes ultra frustrating.
Losing is frustrating. So
If we have a hell of a game and we lose, that's frustrating. We have a bad game. At the end of the day, it's about winning. So whatever happens when the win, you're good. It's good. But whatever happens with the loss is bad. So just gotta keep trying to win.
Dex, what's the feeling when Daniel goes down? Obviously, it's everybody kind of knows what's going on now.
It sucks to see a guy like him go down. He just got back from an injury, and he worked hard to come back from that. He works hard every day, and it just sucks to see that.
Dex, how do you guys pull together and make sure that this 2-7 doesn't become worse than what it feels like right now?
Honestly, just as cliche as it is, flush it, and get ready for next week. Just got to take care of our bodies and, just be ready to prepare to fill back up the tank.
Dex, we talked about how they had a new quarterback and some of the new coachings going into the game. How much of what you saw today from them was different than maybe what you saw on film before?
They was the same team.
That was Giants nose tackle Dexter Lawrence. I alluded to it before we threw to the sound, though. But of course, the Giants traded away Leonard Williams, who played alongside him for a lot of his the last couple of years. Did losing Leonard Williams on that defensive line really impact this defense from what you saw today, Amani?
I don't think it did as much because as much as he was an ancillary guy helping out, the numbers didn't dictate for him to stick around. We'd love to have him, but obviously, the Giants decided to go in a different direction. And when players gone because of injury, because of trades, because of something else, it doesn't matter. You have to play the people that are on the field, and you have to compete at a high level regardless of what's around you as a player if you want to stay in the league. So you can use that as an excuse if you want, but it doesn't matter. It's not gonna hold water. Because overall, this performance from this Giants team was just not good enough.
Yeah, I feel you on you got to be a pro and you got to step up. It's kind of like if Leonard Williams had gotten hurt. If he was hurt and he was out for the rest of the year, you got to step up. Somebody's got to step up and play. But I'll be honest with you, looking at this game, watching it, yeah, absolutely, they missed Leonard Williams. Like, he was a big part of that run defense. As much as everybody talks about sack production from defensive linemen, he was a huge part of that. This Raiders offense ran all over the defense. And when you think about it, they had 125 yards rushing. They hadn't rushed for 100 yards as a team all season. Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing last year. I'm going to repeat that. Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing last year. And he was averaging 3.9 yards a carry this season. Mm-hmm. He was a non-factor. And yet, today, with Aiden O'Connell making his second start in the NFL, Josh Jacobs ran for 100 yards. He had 101 yards and then lost 3 yards on the final play to go under 100. But all of a sudden, Josh Jacobs looked different. So I think Leonard Williams not having him there, that was an impact. But the other factor here that I think the defense shocked me today, not only not being able to stop the run, they didn't get to the quarterback. They hit Aiden O'Connell one time today, and it wasn't even a D lineman, it was Micah McFadden. There were 0 sacks, there were 0 quarterback hits from this entire defensive line, and that can't happen. When you go on the road, you've got to find a way to get pressure on it, especially if it's a young quarterback, it's a rookie making his second start. Where was the pressure? Where was the pass rush? Where was the energy on the defense? I didn't see it. It wasn't there. It's not all because Leonard Williams wasn't there, but I think that definitely had something to do with it in the run game.
Definitely had something to do with Josh Jacobs.
Dynamic,
yeah, it had a lot to do with Josh Jacobs running the ball so effectively. It's hard, and then the way that they were mediating the pressure by these quick outlet passes, the screens, the reverses, all the stuff that you do to mitigate a pass rush, they did, and it really took Wink Martindale's blitzing scheme kind of out of the picture and allowed their quarterback to get comfortable, allowed their running game to get going, and it really put the Giants defense, who love to pressure, as we all know, on their back foot, because it took away the best thing that this Giants team does, is get after the quarterback and then put pressure put pressure to force quarterbacks into making mistakes, and that didn't happen today.
Didn't happen, yeah. They leaned heavily on the run game, and a lot of it could be a change in coaching. Of course, Josh McDaniels is more pass-happy. Antonio Pierce making his debut as the interim head coach for the Raiders today, and rookie quarterback, oftentimes you lean on the run game a little bit more. A lot of these factors come into play here. We're going to take a quick timeout here, but want to remind you guys first that the Giants have an official podcast network, and you want to subscribe to the Giants Podcast Network for a variety of team podcasts featuring conversations with Giants players, coaches, fans, and legends, plus NFL analysts, business professionals, influencers, and more. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and Google. It's the Giants Podcast Network. We've got much more to come here on Giants Postgame Live, brought to you by Moderna. As we turn the page to Week 10, the Giants are headed to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday, November 12th, 4:25 p.m. kickoff. Welcome back to Giants Postgame Live, presented by Moderna. As we look ahead to another division game, this will be the second time the Giants face the Cowboys, of course, opening the season at MetLife Stadium against Dallas in a game that was not the Giants' finest. 40-0 was the final score there. Cowboys coming off a barn burner against Philadelphia, though. They lost it on a narrow loss right there against the Eagles right here. But when you're looking at this game and the importance of a division game, yes, the Giants are struggling. Yes, they're dealing with a lot of significant injuries. But this is still a divisional matchup against Dallas Cowboys, Shaun.
Yeah, I mean, the word that comes to mind is points. Like, the Giants need points. Like, they can't, you know, a week ago against the Jets, we couldn't get points on a 35-yard field goal. Like, that's how tough it is this season to get points. And the Dallas Cowboys, they were up 17-14 over the Eagles early on in that game. So, you know, they're a high-powered offense. They lost the game, but Dak Prescott threw for 370 yards. CeeDee Lamb is a problem. He had 191 yards receiving. So the Cowboys can score a lot of points in a hurry. And that's the challenge right now for the Giants. How are they going to keep up with that? How are they going to find a way to score those points? Obviously, you got to protect the quarterback. Starts there. Yeah. That Week 1 game is still very fresh. That blocked field goal kind of turned the entire game upside down. And this team never recovered from that. So we certainly owe them, you know, from that one. I think, you know, offensively, they've got to do a better job protecting the quarterback because they didn't do it in Week 1 against the Cowboys.
I mean, they have to put pressure on Dak Prescott. I mean, they can't allow him to survey the field because we know one thing: if you let him look down the field, you give him time, you know, it becomes a much better quarterback. They have a running game that's efficient. This is one of the better offenses in the league, and our defense needs to step their game up. Wink Martindale is going to have to dial up the pressures, but not pressure him, not pressures that are so obvious that he can just check out of them. It's going to be a very tactical game. You know, these are two teams that are matched up well against each other because they're both in the same division. And I just feel like when you look at this Dallas Cowboys team, if you thought that if they come up with the same effort that they had against the Raiders this week, against this Cowboys team, it'll be worse. It'll be more embarrassing than this game was. So I caution them to just, this is going to be we're staring at a situation where, you know, the wheels are falling off of this season, and we just got to really figure out when is enough. When is this Giants team going to step up and say, hey, you know, we're going to step up and give our best effort, because we have not seen it except for one half when they played against the Arizona Cardinals.
We heard Saquon talk about you got to be a pro.
Yeah.
We've been in this situation. Like, you're going to find out right now who's got any fight left in them, because this is the week. This is the time.
Because this is the National Football League, and win, lose, or draw, you're here, and this is a place that you've wanted to and dreamed of playing at this level. So bring your best stuff every week, and we will be here after the game, as we always are, for more Giants Postgame Live. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. For Amani, Toomer, and Shaun O'Hara, I'm Madelyn Burke. We'll see you next week on Giants Postgame Live, brought to you by Moderna.
Off the court.